to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. As I discussed last week, I decided that I would try and re-dip the beeswax wraps that I made earlier in the year. I will put a link in the box up the top just to show you how I made them the first time around. This time I didn't use any coconut oil and I just added a tiny little bit more wax. And when the material hit the pan, the existing wax and oil on obviously melted back in and then mixed in with the new wax and re-sealed across. They look okay. They've come up not quite the same as they did the first time. We'll give them a try and see if they will still do the job. And I think that's probably going to be the last time that we can use this batch of material, and then we'll have to start again. I have been quite successful with the cotton scrubbies and cloths that I talked about last week as well. I have made some cloths of different sizes in the green cotton. Here's one I just finished, and I've made a smaller one that we're now using with our coffee machine. So these will just be for wiping down the benches and just general cleaning. And I also made some scrubbies. It's a sort of a spiral scrub pattern that I found. I'll put it in the description box below, as well as the pattern that I'm using for my general squares. I made one initially just with the orange cotton, and it wasn't very abrasive. It was okay for cleaning pots that just were lightly dirty, but anything that was cooked on, it wasn't able to help with getting that off. Did a little bit of research and obviously needed to find some kind of abrasive fabric that we could add in to make it scratchy enough to be able to get rid of some of that dirt. Tripped to Spotlight later and I was able to find this feather eyelet lace. And it comes like on a kind of a reel. It's thin enough to be able to use in knitting. A lot of the other fabrics that I looked at that were that sort of taffeta, crunchy, tutu kind of material was in really big wide bolts. So you'd have to like actually cut it down and make it into a ribbon before you even started. So I thought I'd try this as a starting point. So it is a little bit abrasive, and the problem is it is hard on your hands when you knit it in, and I think anything obviously like that is going to be quite hard on the hands. So it's not a fun knit, but it has worked in, I've used this a little bit, worked in to this spiral that I've made. And it does give that extra rubbing ability and something to get into the cracks and to sort of work away at some of the dirt. We'll try these for a bit longer and see if it's going to work. Maybe I try a different kind of scrub pattern. I think the thing is to actually figure out the shape and how much of the lace to put in and how thickly to knit the cotton around it as well. So this is a little bit of an experiment still, and we'll see how it goes. A few weeks ago now, I took part in a business intensive call as part of my Thrivers Circle membership, and I found it to be really helpful. I was able to get some clarity around some of my business ideas and also what I should be focusing on right now to develop and to grow. Now, that has meant that I've spent quite a lot of time lately working on my website. I have updated all of my repeatable colorways. I'm also working on setting up a dye schedule and looking at the gaps in my colorways and finding new inspirations and ideas for creating new colors. And as I start to dye those and release them, I will be sharing some of the process here, but also some of the inspiration behind the colors as well. So I hope you find that interesting as I begin to share that part of my business with you. Meanwhile, if you want to check out what I've been doing on my website and my yarns, you can check that out at passionflower.com. I've started knitting on the blanket squares, and although my initial feeling was that I didn't want to do them all individually and then have to sew or seam them up in some way, I've actually decided that that is going to be the best way to do it. And the reason for this is because we're thinking that perhaps we will alter the way that the colours and the patterns sit. And until I've knit all the squares, we obviously can't determine how that's going to be. So the best way is to do individual squares and then be able to lay it out rather than commit to joining anything as I go along the way. I think it'll also provide some extra structure as well, so that the blocks will sit nicely and there should be less stretch, and they should all sort of end up being roughly the same size by the way that I seam them. So I found this cream 8-ply yarn in my stash. I think I got it from Wangaratta Woolen Mills a few years ago, and I sort of have not come up with any project for it, so this might be the thing that gets it out of my stash. The thing I don't know yet is how I'm going to actually attach it. I think that I will do an outside border as well as actually have visible cream lines between each of the colours. Probably crochet, which is not my strong point. So if there's any crocheters out there that has some suggestions about a good decorative border and joining method, I would love if you could share that in the comments with me. So here are the blocks I've done so far. I'm getting 5 squares per 50 grams of the yarn, and I've decided to do 5 of each of the colours first and see how they play out, and then potentially change the pattern and the colour, or keep doing them exactly as I'm doing them now. So here is the blue and the pink and the purple. So I still have the dark green and the light green to do the first 5 in, and then I'll start to play and figure out how I'm going to make it work. They're coming out at about 12 centimetres square. So I think it's going to end up being a reasonably good sized blanket. And as I said, this way, by doing them individually, I can be a bit more flexible. I can change it up if I need to, add a different colour perhaps if we decide we want to make it bigger, or just buy more of the same colours and keep going. I promise I won't share blanket progress with you every week. That would get extremely tedious. I might do a tally of squares at some point and show you the new squares as I do them, but I definitely am not going to be sharing this every week because it would get really boring. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.